A brilliant win. We'll touch on the controversy late though, but full credit to North Melbourne. Freo, what a concern they are. But this is it. 2 minutes to go. Brendan Cox gets thrown forward and he kicks the goal. So suddenly it's got back to a point. There's a point to go, 38 seconds. Unbelievable composure here from Harry Sheasel, not to let the ball go through, sock it off the ground. Some guys might have panicked and given the point and then tried to blast it straight down the middle. It's come down again. Huge fish from Zeeble. Deliberate out of bounds. So there's about 10 seconds to go. I was really surprised by Jordan Clark here. Why did he switch it into the corridor? He should have blasted it in earlier. And again, Sheasel has booted the ball out. And Damo, should that have been deliberate or not?
Well, let's take a look at it, Mordo, from the lens of the ARC, the AFL Review Centre. They've released this publicly this morning, only a matter of moments ago.
Yours. We can't. There's no to check. We can consult, but that's it. Over. Yep. Game over.
Okay, so the key takeout where was the siren went before the ball was out of bounds. This is the statement today. The AFL has said the siren did sound before the ball goes out of play. The umpire's decision on the ground was correct. Effectively, the ball was kicked. Umpires hear siren, ball goes out of bounds. Now, that's the AFL's version of it. I would imagine there might be some Fremantle supporters who may have thought the order of events may have been their way leaning, which would have resulted in a potential free kick after the siren for a shot at goal to potentially level the scores.
I'm invested neither way with either of these clubs, but I think the AFL is completely wrong. I think the siren sounded after the ball went out of bounds.
I don't think you're alone on that.
Can we just cue it up to that particular bit where we see the ball go out and the siren?
Yours. Pay it. Siren.
Looks like it's out. The ball goes out and then the siren sounds. So who's looking at these things at the AFL?
Well, they've released that today, and again, TJ, it is absolute line ball, isn't it? I mean, you couldn't.
No, I don't think it is.
So you are adamant that should have been paid as a free kick?
Well, what's the panel think? Yes, is the answer to that.
Look, as a viewer, I thought at the time it was going to be as well. Lay it and layer it with what they've said today. I can see why they didn't, but again, it's in the eye and the ears of the beholder, isn't it?
There's a thought that the AFL just tick off on every decision, though. Very rarely do they come out and say that we got it wrong.
Should the umpires call for the arc there? So obviously they can slow it down.
Should have that
siren goes.
Well, I think they asked that question. I think one of the players asked the question, can we look back at it? And the umpire says, no, we can't. So to avoid anything like this, and the ultimate embarrassment being on grand final day, I think they should be... I'm not a fan of video reviews, but we've got them, so use them. But I think they should have the ability in situations like that where the game hinges on it, like right at that final second, where they do go to the video. And I think... What do you think, Matthew? I think it's conclusive.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think the ball was out of bounds as well. So I'm surprised they've come to that decision today. But I'm like Kane. It's very rare they say they get decisions wrong.
And had they gone, to your point, Brownie and TJ, to that booth at that moment in time, I would imagine they would have came down with the same finding as they have this morning.
Well, I don't know about that, because you don't know who's sitting in the booth and no one's...
I'm with you. I felt it was a Fremantle free kick for what
umpires did the best job they could with what they had in their hands at the moment.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a very hard situation, but that's why it probably needs to go to the arc.
Sorry, we don't want to dwell on this. And again, we don't want to take anything away from North Melbourne, but it's a rule that needs to be looked at. You were doing your show on the AFL website last night, and Riley Beveridge, does it with you? Now, he said that the ball isn't deemed out of bounds until the boundary umpire actually calls it out of bounds. And based on that, it's correct.
Yes, based on that, it is correct.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure that's what the AFL said.
No, they haven't. They've just said the siren went before the ball went out, and that's completely wrong.
we've touched on the Bulldogs, obviously, but Freo are just as big a concern. Like, their inability to score is a massive issue. They look flat as a group, but North Melbourne and the passion of Clarkson, that was outstanding last night.
Now, look at Kane. You're just sitting there. Something's brewing, I can tell.
Yeah, it's brewing, TJ. So let's get straight into it, because I don't want to talk about deliberate out of bounds anymore. I want to talk about a recruit that's come to Fremantle on a 7-year deal for a reported $900,000 a year, and he's taken 1 mark in 2 weeks. And these two, Jackson and Darcy, continue to get in each other's road. So the decision to go after another ruckman in the trade period, more so than a forward, is having costly implications for Fremantle right now. The amount of balls that he's getting his hands to and dropping is a real concern. And I'd never seen the forward craft, and I'm always questioning why are they recruiting Luke Jackson as a forward when he hasn't been that, but also the flow-on effect it's had for Sean Darcy, who had 6 disposals yesterday, and against a 34-year-old ruckman, Todd Goldstein, who was left out of the side last week. They lost the clearances by 15. So they're not giving their midfielders first use as it stands as well. So huge question marks for Justin Longmuir there with those two. And if I was Sean Darcy, I'd be looking for a new home at the end of the year.
Well, Sean Darcy should go.
Well, because he started forward, Damo. Sean Darcy's not a forward. He's a great ruckman. But Luke Jackson's not a forward either, so he's going to have to play in the ruck. They've prioritised that. They gave up 2 first-round draft picks and a second-round pick to get him, and a massive contract. So, yeah, I reckon I'd be pretty frustrated if I was Darcy right now.